So apologize for not streaming last week, but um, well, life happens, right? And we have to kind of go along with it and see what comes from it. And I'm going to be talking about how to deal with situations that make you want to not create, but you still want to be able to create things whenever you're sad because this is a career we chose. This isn't a hobby. And when we choose for something to be a career, we have to learn to deal with situations that are not going to allow us to be creative necessarily, and we still have to be able to create something with them. So, like always, let's go over some of the things that I went over, not this last stream, but the one before that, so you guys can decide if you want to see those videos or not. And then we can continue on. I believe that I did a pinup drawing for this guy, so you guys can check that out in my Instagram. Let me adjust the lighting. We were talking about how to create 3D characters and how to make every character have more dimension. A little tutorial on how to see eyes spherically, and we talked about legs. We talked about how to play along with legs and how they're shaped, how they change, and you know, uh, a lot of things about legs. So if you're interested about learning about legs, go look at the other video that I did. Now there's a bunch of them. So I think as of now I have over 100 and something videos on YouTube. So and I have over several thousand posts that could be helpful on Instagram. So if you guys want to follow me on both of them, then fantastic. This was a lesson that I talked about with my apprentice about hair, and I worked a little bit on my next concept for a kid's book that I want to do. Over the weekend, I got a chance to draw several people at an event that I went to. I went to a really cool medieval event, SCA. God, I can't recall what that's the thing, but people dress up like knights and stuff like that, and they fight, and it's really, really cool. And I was able to be a part of that this time around. And these are some people that just stood out, that camped out with us, and I got to draw some fun stuff. But for today, seeing as I haven't really been in the best of moods, I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide what we're going to be talking about tonight. So go to the comment section right now and leave a comment of something that you would like me to answer. Meanwhile, I'm just going to be drawing a little bit of a warm up. I plan on being here for a while. So feel free to go grab yourself something to drink. Grab yourself your sketchbook if you want to draw along. And, like always, I absolutely thank every single one of you guys for making my Mondays a little bit better, even when my life is not necessarily in the best spot. So let's see. Let's start drawing something. Something that's very, that I noticed that a lot of you like is, estilizado de personajes, which means stylizing characters. Oh, all right. That sounds great. Let's start with that. So, what determines that something's stylized? Well, the way that I see it is if you have something that is very realistic, and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time drawing a super realistic face or anything, but let's just say that something like this is going to be a realistic face. A little bit more detailed than what you normally would. Details very similar to what you would see in like a comic. I don't even know. No, that would be really stylized too. But let's assume that Rod can draw realistic faces really quickly, and this is what you get. Like a normal proportions character. someone that has a very, very normal human approach and look to themselves. So something that's not very stylized, something that's just very, very standard. Something like a portrait or, a life drawing. Now, you can take, let's give them some glasses, maybe not so big because it's not supposed to be stylized. Right? So that would be like 19-year-old Rod. And a non-stylized 19-year-old, like a very standard. And then you can have something that's incredibly stylized. And have it be technically the same character. And as long as you keep some of the same elements, in this case, let's say that we keep the glasses and we keep the boxy head. But everything else we just stylize and make it our own. Right? You can technically say that these two characters are the same character, but in different styles. So how do you get from drawing something that's generic to something that's very stylized? And that comes from, I'm just going to draw in marker. Try to do like some infographic stuff right here. How do you go from that to that, right? Well, first, everybody starts with a blank slate. So step one is blank slate. Let's say that this is your talent pool, right? And it's a nice little sphere. And that sphere has nothing in it. Like this planet, let's make it into a planet. Why not? Like a globe. And this is going to be your world inside of your skill set. When you're born or before you start drawing or doing absolutely anything with art, you're at the blank slate page. You don't really have any countries, you don't have any continents, just have a big ball of white, blue. Now, how do you progress from there? Well, at some point, you are going to see something and want to draw it. Now, let's say that when you're a kid and you see a person and you want to draw the person and you draw them like little stick figures, like, yay! And that's daddy, and that's gonna be mommy, and a baby. Once you start drawing things like this, it becomes very, 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 very essential that what you're drawing and what you're seeing are, two different things. So every time that you draw something that you find appealing or interesting, you add a little bit to different areas of your brain or your skill set, right? And you start developing little skill sets that will essentially just fill in gaps in your knowledge and the ability to create things that you're not particularly knowledgeable about. Or let's keep going. So let's say that this is the blank slate stage. Step number 2, developing the parts that you want to develop. As foundation, as an artist, I do truly believe that there's just a few things you really need to master to be able to be a good artist. 1 is anatomy. 2 is perspective. And 3 is colors or color theory. Most of the other aspects of art, like lighting and shading and stuff like that, can be determined a lot by these 3 aspects. A lot of perspective deals with lighting and how light hits things to be able to create those paints. So I would consider it part of this. And also and lighting would also be considered part of color theory, because you need to learn how light affects other colors in order to be able to create, light effects. So having the basis of these. Let's say these three aspects are your continents inside of your mind. So this is going to be anatomia for anatomy. Anatomia. Bah. This won't be Colorlandia. And this one's gonna be Perspectivia or so, whatever, Perspectivia for perspective. And every element that you learn and you find appealing is going to land in one of these three spots. Now, when you look at somebody, let's say a really popular artist like Scott Campbell, let's say that you really, really like the way that they do their faces or their art or their pinups. Well, that would end up being boom, 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 a little tiny section of your anatomy section because you like the way that they're positioned, and maybe you like the way that the inker and the colorer do the effects. So boom, 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 a little extra part in your color part would be, added. Let's say that you do also really, really enjoy the super impressive, dynamic poses that they do, and that would be part of your perspective and anatomy, right? So you get overlapping sections that cover different parts. The way that you are able to eventually come with your own style or be able to replicate things stylized is when you develop enough of these that overlap each other, enough of these different elements overlapping each other will create really, really cool effects. And the more that you take in from other artists as well, let's say that you really like Scott Campbell's eyes. Not that these are the way that he draws them, I'm just going to give you an example. And you like anime noses, but you like Steven Universe mouths. So now you see how things can go and start becoming, really fun and stylized. And you can start adding elements from different things, from different artists, into a cohesive mixture that's going to make your art look really cool. So that's kind of how you go and you design stylized characters. It's about building your mental library with chock full of different ways to draw different things from different artists, and then just starting to mix them all together so that they come up with a really cool style. And you shouldn't really feel like there's a single style for yourself. I mean, if you're a versatile artist, you can do a lot, and you should never shy away from trying something different. I tend to jump around all over the place, uh, mostly sticking to more cartooning and illustrative work. But I love doing, very, very surreal stuff as well. And I love drawing fantasy stuff. So it's also a genre like jump. And then, the look of everything changes. And, sometimes you just want to draw something different. And having the ability to do so because of practice, because of understanding the knowledge, the base knowledge that every style is made from, it's just anatomy, perspective, and colors. And everything else like inking and stuff like that, yeah, technically you can be considered as a different part of this, but I still think that these are the most core foundational like things that you need to know in order to be able to become to create your own style. Let's look to see if anybody else commented. Manu Menturio. Eres un maestro para eso. You're a master for this. Thank you. Revi, the differences between male and female bodies. Okay. Well, I'll break it down incredibly simple for that. Let's see. Hold on. Let me show you this here. Male bodies tend to be more squared. So when you have an upper body, you have your torso, you have your hips, and you have your legs. Now, a male will have a upper body most of the time. Most of the time, and I say this very, 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 very important right now. This is just a generalization of what male and female bodies are, especially when it comes down to illustrations and comics. Uh, Please don't assume that I'm like, like saying that all men or all women look like this. I know this is a huge debate topic, and honestly, let's just keep it civil. And I'm just going to say that these are generalized terms for illustration, not necessarily a realistic thing. Okay. So for men, we have very normally very squarish features. And that comes from having a wide upper body. And the more fit the person is, the more of a triangle it becomes. It becomes more like that. Still determining normally the more fit the person is, the bigger, like physically, that the person is, they tend to have bigger bodies. So therefore, the heads are a little bit smaller. Then we have very, very sharp features to them. Now, when it comes down to, let's just draw appendages and such, yes, male will have normally thicker appendages as well. And they will be a lot more muscular than most women will swim. The definition of the muscles up at the top of the body are very, very, very prominent in men. And the more that you understand where these muscles are and how they work and how they combine with the rest of your body, the more you're going to be able to enhance that when it comes down to drawing your characters. Learning and understanding anatomy is not necessarily a boring task. It's something that allows you to open up that gate to creating whatever is in your mind, stylized or not. Now, I'm not saying that people that just have a stylized look to their drawings are going to be, like incompetent or anything. Everybody has their, skill sets that they really like and then improve. And I promise you that if those people focus on learning a little bit more foundational skills, even their own style would be brought, to light a little bit more. One good thing to remember with, for example, with arms with men especially, is that they're kind of connected to where the pectorals are by the shoulders. So shoulders tend to be a very big part of a male when it comes down to definition or trying to show if the person is strong or weak. If you're going to show a lot of strength, you'd make a really defined muscle structure at the top of the neck. If the character is, maybe not so physically fit, you end up with a softer look to things. Right? So you end up like no chin, and then this is all like, soft tissue instead of nice chiseled like this like physique. Now that's how you can start differentiating just like the characters themselves, like it doesn't mean the character's any better or worse, it's just how their body is. Now that's for male. Now for female characters, they tend to be a little bit more curvy. They have more of a waistline and they end up looking more like an hourglass shape. Now, remember, when I was drawing the man, I broke down the body more so like this. And the reason is because I don't really have to worry so much about the definition of where the belly is. The male torso doesn't really bend that much. And I, I mean, it does. I'm not saying that men don't twist, but when it comes down to, a stylized version of them, it's a lot less prominent than when women have to determine that they have a small waist. So having an hourglass shape as a base for a female body tends to be what I end up drawing most of the time. Now, the legs don't come directly from the bottom, as you will see if you watch the video that I made. They come out from the side and they taper down. Now, once you master how to do that really quickly, it's really easy to position them in any way, shape, or form and making them look really pretty. Let's say you want it from the side. So just understanding a little bit of how the muscles work. And I'm not saying I'm a master at this at all, like whatsoever, but I learned to understand legs and musculature in ways that make sense to me. For example, here, whenever I see a leg that's bending like this, I kind of imagine it like a little sushi for some reason. I imagine it like a sushi, and that muscle wraps around the top of the leg, and then the calf. To me, it looks like a little mannequin, right? So it has like the little thing like that. And then that allows my mind to position the bottom of the foot in any way I need. Oh, sorry, you guys couldn't see that. So when I'm positioning just drawings like this, I'm imagining the same thing. I have a muscle on top, the knee, and then everything else comes from underneath. And learning when to draw the lines, when not to draw the lines, and where the muscles go and stuff, it comes a lot from practice and a lot of observation from, different artists around you or people that draw with you. And that's going to be like a fantastic source of, inspiration and knowledge. Now, just try to find people that are better than you at what you draw, what you do, and then stick to them. So the hips and the rib cage can join to create a pocket that gives you that hourglass shape. Then the upper body consists of not such wide shoulders anymore, but not necessarily all that narrow. Uh, I just like to keep it a little bit less wide than the hips, and that gives me a nice looking figure for building my characters off of that. Then whatever stylized like body parts you want to do, if you want to have bigger hips, then you just, once you understand this, you can just widen the hips. If you want to make it even more like Jessica Rabbitish, then you just bring in the rib cage and then, but understanding all the anatomy that's underneath, I know that the hip bone is here, the rib cage is going to be around here, the skull is going to be around here. Like, I've come to understand just the basics of how anatomy works, and that has allowed me to build an entire career off of that. So I highly recommend that you really try to be objective about learning these things, because I think it'll benefit every single one of you. Let's see what else. How's it going, Rod? Not gonna comment. I'm just gonna say it hasn't been the best week. But I'm not here to pass my negativity on to anybody. Missed you last Monday. Yeah, honestly, this last week I've been overwhelmed. So I just kind of disconnected from everything, and I don't know if it helped. but that's why I didn't do it last week. Let's see what else. Let's see. Hey, Dragons on Stilts, howdy. Hey, hope you guys are doing great. Manu Mandarin. Supongo que es lo mismo con estilizar animales. You suppose that it's the same as stylizing with animals. And yeah, essentially it's the same thing. The more you learn how to draw different animal anatomy, the more you can stylize. You need to learn how to break how to draw things properly so that you can break the rules and still have it look proper. Let's see. Are you drawing with a highlighter? Yeah, that's just a dollar store highlighter. Little Sharpie highlighter. It's one of my favorite tools for sketching. Honestly, it glides smooth and it's just really nice because you can just draw over it. I'm entranced by how fast you do things. I draw a lot, so and I'm very analytical about my drawings. Before, let's say I'm going to explain to you guys how I normally go about drawing. And by that, I'm going to give you guys a little sketchbook tour. How about that? It's been a while since I've done one of these, and I guess hopping into one at 26 minutes seems about right. All right. So, first of all, I'd like to thank the two companies that have allowed me to be able to do a lot of these things, and that comes from Sketch Wallet and the awesome people at Danique. Danique Sketchbooks and Sketch Wallet are probably the two things that I work with. So this is not like a sponsored thing or anything. I just, and I know a lot of you guys really like to know what good supplies are, and either one of these companies will take very good care of you. All right, so let's go over sketchbook number 8. And let's see what to say about this one. So I wanted to get away from just doing my posts about sketching and learning how to do different things and try to focus a little bit more on stylizing the things that I do. And I think that goes perfect with what you guys asked earlier. So I normally try to get a focus for each one of these, but I think in this one I kind of lost the focus pretty quickly. So, start off with drawing a lot of anatomy-ish drawings that just, help me map out how the faces would look in different positions. Trying to focus more and more on the positions that are really hard for me before, to see if I had actually progressed and become a better artist in the time that I've been studying. And yeah, I gotta admit, I'm pretty surprised as to how easy this came to me after practicing anatomy for a year. Trying to come up with a different, approach to making the masks approach that I've tried to teach you all, the carving of the pieces like I've taught you all, and just trying to implement more lighting into it, and trying to get a little bit more depth in trying to see how highlights, even though it's just basically in blotchy, this is teaching me a lot when I'm drawing. It teaches me, sketches like this teach me much more than any finished illustration will. But nevertheless, I wanted to draw something really funny, something that I would have drawn in high school. And I don't know why I was thinking about D&Ds and zombies, but this just came through and I just spent a good 10 minutes drawing this. I believe the video is somewhere on Instagram if you guys want to see it. Then I was going to draw a pirate, Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, but with pirates. And I just started researching awesome beards. This dude came up and I decided to draw him from his picture. And then I tried to recreate that from the side to see if I could do it just for funsies. And it came out okay. This is also a post that I did on Instagram. Wanted to show how the size of the shape can define style. So drawing the same character with different widths can create very different looks for them. And, it can also define a lot of their personality. So, you know, try giving it a shot with your own characters and, never know. Now, you're going to see the things that happen when I don't draw things that I like. When I don't draw things I like, I tend to try to correct over them as fast as I can, just to try to get that last mental image of the drawing in my head. Like if I drew the face too long, hey, correct yourself on the spot. Imagine, like you have to be your own best teacher. So you have to be critical of yourself. But don't be critical of yourself to the point where you're being detrimental to your own learning. Now, different personality types will take their own criticism a little bit different. So some people will thrive on it, some people will be really put back by it. So that's something that you have to cope with if you want to get better quick. And that's what I do. And since I've been working in production jobs since I was like 22. I'm no stranger to any like sort of like criticism or anything. Like it just comes with the job. You need to learn to take criticism. Let's see. More faces, trying to play around with the roundness of the eye. That is oh, by the way, injury from this weekend's fighting with Armor Knight. Yeah, I went to a medieval reenactment and it was really fun. But I got hurt. Let's see. Back to it. I'm just playing around with some poses, trying to see how much detail I could capture with as least lines as possible. Again, going for that under the chin, like just whenever I get inspired and I see something that kind of makes sense, I just went for it. And I know these are like random like moments at the time that they hits you, but that's why I carry a sketchbook everywhere. I put post-its on my sketchbooks so that I can know that I still have something there that I can take advantage of later. So in this case, I put Supercar Rod Duel. I really, really like the way this one came out. Like so much so that I kind of wanted to make him or one more my new avatar. So he's marked right there so that I can go in later and see if I want to use him later. More head studies, trying to play a little bit with more just tiny subtle angles of the head to make things different. More heads. More heads even. Again, just trying to land that under chin. And I think that learning a little bit about the muscles that connect the neck to the head have helped immensely. Like that is such a difficult position to like draw right. Let's see, just random doodles. I saw a puppy that day. Then drawings of people at Starbucks, or I think no, this was a pozole place. You went to a pozole place, and these are some of the people while we were waiting for our food. Another drawing of me, some eye examples. Again, trying to get that roundness and trying to like get a feel for where they sit, even through the like anatomy and the structure. You gotta approach everything you learn in like a 20 different ways, just for it to click sometimes, especially for people like me that aren't like just naturally gifted in seeing things. Like I really have to carve out the things that I learn, like over and over and over. I'm a very slow learner, so when things click, that's when I try to like pass them on to other people. Let's see, some more faces. Yeah, I was thinking like I'm just missing something. It's getting there, but missing something. Now, this was a really fun little lesson. Again, dealing with style. So how do you do this to this, right? When it comes down to sketching and storyboarding and doing things for your own stories, you don't necessarily have to go full detail to be able to get that story across. If you're just creating a basic layout for a storyboard or something like that, You can go incredibly simple, knowing that all that detail can be added later. But as long as you portray that emotion or that same feel, you can end up doing things a lot quicker and proceed to the next step before, spending a ton of time worrying about everything. Uh, I do have some good kid book ideas that I want to work alongside other artists with. Um, I have come to understand that if I want to create everything that's in my head, I have to play a bigger role in directing people to create the vision instead of trying to do everything myself. Uh, Most of my life, I've everything that I've achieved with my art has mostly been with my own skill set, on my own, or with very, very, very minimal effort on other people. So I think it's about time to like actually let other people help in and chime in and find some impressive talent that I have no worries in finding because I already know like some of my followers are immensely talented. And even if you aren't that talented, shit, like we can probably find something cool to do with you guys. So let's see. That was just ideas for my book, Mr. Depp. And Mr. Depp is probably one of my most cool ideas that I've wanted to do for a very long time. Ever since I first drew them, I kind of have a connection with the little character, and I will tell you guys all a little bit more about it down the line. More head studies, just trying to play with more really beefy characters, but without adding the ridiculous musculature that some people do. I was trying to go more for like just a large, thick character instead of just overly muscly. More heads, trying to play around with the idea. I think at this point I realized that most nose bridges tend to break a little bit above where the eye level is. And I was just trying to play around with how that looks in the different positions. Quick drawing of a person that I saw at the post office. Trying to play around a little bit with that blue marker and white, which makes it look amazing on these toned pages. Uh, Toned paper and watercolor these watercolor markers from Miniso, like they sell them at those stores where they have all the cute like Avengers stuff and like Adventure Time stuff. So these are really good. Like they're really fun, and then they kind of work just like a dry marker, and it's just really really good. I recommend them. Like go play around with them. Like when you're just sketching, that's fantastic. Some more drawings, just random doodles, pass the time. Playing a little bit more with arms and how they bend, and actually being able to sketch like this and actually having it look right. Like I don't know how to explain to you guys how like hard it was to be able to get to that point. Like if I look back at my like 19-year-old self, like about to give up on art, and told them that even if it was 20 years later, like not 20, it'll be 20 in 2 years, but 18 years later, you'd be able to just draw anything in your mind, and that little kid would just be happy as hell. Like, I never imagined that I could draw like I do. And I'm super proud of where I am. And not cocky, I'm just trying to, I stay humble and I try to teach. But I think I've achieved a lot. And it's been really nice. It's been a nice ride. Some more faces. I wanted to draw Guile from Street Fighter, but he ended up looking a little weird. Uh, but I'm loving how fun and vibrant these drawings come out, just with a little bit of color and a little bit of white. Let's see. Oh, another lesson. Essentially, how to create a face by drawing 4 circles. Draw your head, and the head can be any shape. Draw two circles to represent not the eyeballs, but the eye sockets. Draw two more circles to identify where the eyeballs are going to go, and then use those guides to come up with your face. Now, if you remember that everything's circular, whenever you're drawing this from the front, the circles would be really, really close to the edges. And it's very easy to come up with really fun characters really quickly in a different way than the whole like cross section and then dividing. It's just more fun. Honestly, I find this way of drawing a little bit better. It's just more loose and more easy to just follow. Then I went ahead and I started drawing bodies. And I like, ever since I think the Michael Hampton book, Anatomy, ever since I saw that he segmented the body parts into different colors, it helped me out a ton because I could identify a yellow next to a blue next to a red. And if I didn't map that out in my head, then I knew that something was missing. And very quickly, you come to understand that, like once you understand this, then you can break down into a different section of that. And the more you understand the body part, the more you're going to look for more detail. And eventually you'll start seeing a lot of detail that you never would have seen before. But it's also something you can't look at until you actually put the effort first. It's really hard to see certain levels of detail when you haven't achieved like the previous level of detail. Like there's really no skipping it. And no, all those like click moments, like all those like, oh, got it. Oh, I got it now. I got it now. Those moments, those are the ones that unlock the next level of things for you. And then you got to take advantage of those moments because if something clicks, that just means that your window of like opportunity with everything that you can draw just went up. You leveled up. So now you can take on bigger projects. You can take on bigger assignments. You can do cooler illustrations. And every single time you level up, you open up so many possibilities for yourself. And so many of you, like the people out there, just limit themselves. They limit themselves to one thing. Like they find the one thing they're great at and they stick to that for life. When if you're good at that one thing, odds are you're good at 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things. And if you don't stop yourself at that one really cool thing, you never know how much you're going to achieve. You'd be surprised. Like you'd honestly be surprised how amazing like it can be for someone with just a good skill set and the will to want to do more with it. All right, so continue on, trying to draw more bodies. Again, this one I drew really, really large at first, so I went in and corrected it. Playing around with more dynamic poses, just testing out the other colors, and trying to like play with some stylized versions of myself. Let's see. Another little character that I just drew. Figured it could be used for stickers or something down the line. Playing with a glasses approach to faces, which has some promise, but it only would make sense if you already mastered breaking down the face into shapes. So it would be a more advanced approach, but it would make some things make sense. Honestly, just playing with some anatomy, like not quite getting it right, but just finishing a doodle for fun sakes. Trying to play a little bit more with proper anatomy. Just seeing how things would look. If somebody had a lot of fat in their neck, would they melt in like a like a yogurt or like soft serve? And then just trying to draw muscle structures to see like how you can make someone look feminine, even muscular. Just playing around with body shapes, trying to map out how the muscles in the back could look. I noticed that I do not understand very much of the lower back muscles yet. So that might be another focus for different sketchbook. I started playing around with neck muscles, simplifying it, trying to make it make sense, and going from super simple, trying to break it down in a way that makes sense to me. Just honestly, like most of the time, I do not really pay much attention to like many of the lessons other people do unless it like really comes from a place where it seems like they understand the way that they're drawing for themselves. When someone is really trying to like find that path, you can really tell. And some of the people that I really love that do that are, God, it's Taco something. Ah, man, I can't recall the name of the account for some reason right now, but it's on Instagram. Anyways, they're amazing. Uh, yeah. Mitch Lee, I believe is his name. Fantastic, fantastic teacher. He is doing with his career what I wish that I could do with my career as of now. Fantastic. All he does is teach, and oh man, like, he just makes videos, and that's the life. Uh, Drawing a little bit more, starting with a flesh highlighter, and then just building out the face from there was really, really fun. And we're coming towards the end. I decided to make a ball exercise, and that was put a ball. These are fun. You draw a ball first. I like using highlighter to give it like a little highlight. Boom. Right? And the next thing you do is you draw a hand around it. Now, that hand can be doing whatever you want, but I like to try and do hand shapes and positions that I normally wouldn't do, especially when I'm just practicing. Just to, even if they don't come out right, like it's just good practice. And a bad drawing can tell you more about where you are and how to improve than a good drawing. I like to think of really, really good drawings as just ego boosters, and really bad drawings as humbling boosters. And I think that you need to have a little bit of both in order to be able to be a good artist. Again, playing a little bit with different style, trying to see if I can achieve a more editorial type of illustration style. Follow it up with just a couple faces. Playing around with the white, just playing with contrast and figuring out how the cheekbone connects to the back of the head in different positions, from the front, from the side. And some inspirational stuff. I think this was for a stream or for like a video that I did. It was for, it doesn't matter if you're ready or not. Your skill set is very, 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 very much so secondary to your drive to sell your artwork. You can draw stick figures and make a lot of money. It just depends on you finding the market for that work. And if you can find that niche, hey, more power to you. Every artist that wants to do their own thing and not just work for someone else is going to have to be as much a businessman as an artist. And you need to be your own IT department, and you need to be your own backup, and you need to be your own management and your own payroll and everything. So learning a little bit of business will be more important to your art career than your art. And that sounds horrible, and that sounds like it shouldn't be like how it works, but that's how it is. You need to be a fantastic salesman and marketer for yourself in order to be able to be successful as a solo artist. So that's the path that I've been trying to follow my whole life. So that's where I want to end up. I want to be known for me, not for working for someone else. I want to be known for someone that changed a little bit of the world with their own art, with their own path. And it doesn't lead to the most lucrative life a lot of the times, but it leads for a very fulfilling one. And that was the last page of that. And I actually finished this in August 22nd. So a little while ago. This one was the other one that I was considering making into my avatar. Maybe even to a t-shirt. I really, really like that little sketch. But yeah, that's sketchbook number 8. Now, I guess this one is sketchbook number 9, technically, but I think it's 9 of the little ones. I think I might do like 10 or 12 of the big ones. Let's see what else. I feel like drawing more, so let's put the show on the road. What else should we draw? How does basic shapes affect the feeling a character gives? Like round type against square type or triangle sharp type, can one of these perform more than one emotion and relate to them? Oh, that's a fascinating topic. And even though I don't necessarily focus a ton on shape design whenever I'm drawing, it is a fantastic tool to use whenever you're, you know, I believe, Jesus, who did that one? One of my fellow colleagues, Randy Bishop, is the one that did a really, really, really good explanation of this in the 21 Draw book. He made a whole lesson plan of it, and honestly, it taught me a lot. So I know I'm going to butcher this, so um, if you want to learn a little bit more about that, there is that 21 Draw book that I highly recommend. I'm in it as well. And, that's something you guys can look into. But shapes. In general, we have, let's say, three types of shapes. We have circular shapes, we have squared shapes, and we have sharp shapes, triangle shapes. Each one of these can be used to tell a certain thing within a character. Let's say that we just add little tiny features to these things, and we're going to go uber simplified. Now, normally, and this is a very generalized thing, but it normally gives that feel. Circular shapes are normally reserved for, let's just draw a few, happy characters, joyful characters, younger characters, and very normally sensual characters, curvy characters. That's why women are normally very, very, very smooth shapes. So it normally lends itself with softness, with caring, loving. Those are words that you would associate with circular shapes. Now, square shapes are more strong. Like they lead themselves to strength. They lead themselves to sturdiness. So you'd have very, very, strong characters that would have like caveman features, for example, or superhero type characters. Iron Man. It's a horrible Iron Man, but it also represents a foundation, like solidness. So a lot of father figures can also be considered like the pillars of their family, right? Mr. Fantastic is one great example of a character that combines a little bit of both of these. Now, actually, he combines all three of them a little bit. So strength in everything normally comes from square shapes. Triangle shapes, or sharp shapes as I like to call them, normally lend themselves to mischievousness, evilness, and just overall like not necessarily good. When something's sharp, it tends to look like painful. It tends to look like it's gonna hurt, like it's gonna be sharp, like it's gonna stab you. So it doesn't tend to lend itself to very, very um, soft, nice characters. So if you keep those elements in mind, you can come up with a lot of cool things. You can come up with characters that are both round and sharp, which can lend itself to give a very complex persona to them. So sharp combined with a lot of soft lines will give you like an anti-hero like type of like a rebel type of look to his character. So one approach, like one example. You can draw somebody that's really, really, really big, but still really, like soft and cuddly by giving the character a combination of really, really big, bold, boxy shapes combined with little elements of round. So combining a lot of elements and learning like how different shapes, comprise of different characters, like pay attention to how people draw different characters and see what their personalities match up with like that with them. And then, from there you'll start seeing like a lot of patterns that repeat themselves. Um, Soft, cuddly, non-harmful is the round shape. Sturdy, strong, kind of like normally like dumber is the box shape. Astute, evil, villainous, hurtful, mischievous. That's the sharp shape. And try to implement those thoughts into your drawings and then see how that comes out. Ravi, I'm sorry you had a bad week, but thank you for teaching me still. You're welcome. What is my favorite thing to draw? Says some guy on the internet. I really love drawing derpy animals. And I think I like drawing derpy animals because you can't be too sad when you see an animal that's really derpy. Like, let's just draw something with watercolor right now. Just do a blobby and then we'll come up with something for it. Ever since I finished my pinup book, I haven't really done blob drawings. So, so what I do when I'm doing blob drawings, I literally just draw random blocks of like color. I try to keep it like one or two colors max, so it doesn't look too like muddled. And I try to like put my imagination to a test of seeing if I can come up with something cool to draw from it. Now, you guys mentioned what I like to draw the most, and honestly, it's mostly like really silly animals, cute things. I absolutely love drawing cute things. And it's because those are the things that make people really happy. And I want my art to make people smile. That's the only emotion that I want anybody to get from my art. Okay, let's let that dry for a second. That should be a pretty fun one. So go ahead and, hey, if you guys are still watching, if you're new in there in the comments, join the chat. Keep me company. Let me ask me questions. I'm more than happy to answer or just listen to what you guys have to say. So let's wait till that dries. What does that look like? Let's see. What can we do with this? I'm seeing a robot, but I don't want to draw a robot. What else am I seeing? I'm seeing a chicken with throwing a kick. Like a, yeah. Nah, that might be good. That might work. Yeah, let's do that. So, these guys will see. You guys will see. Let's see. Okay. It's great that you are able to see how far you have come and embrace it. Sometimes it's really hard. Yeah, honestly, I'm going to like not give myself my credit for this. It's gonna be more so the fact that I share so much with all of you. When you try to explain things to other people, it tends to help you understand how much you don't know. And thanks to all of you allowing me to reach all of you, and like you learn from me, and you guys actually feel like you're learning something from my teachings, um, it helps out a ton. It helps me understand what the weaknesses are in what I, how to do and what to draw, and it also helps me focus on those things a lot more. Um, there's something really fun that happens whenever you try to teach something to somebody. I would recommend you guys try it. It's fantastic to see someone's face light up when they finally understand something that has been blocking them for a long time. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling to see someone's face light up because now they can finally do the thing that they've been wanting to do forever. And that feeling like has made me want to turn more into a teacher than try to pursue the fame of being just an artist or just like super famous for what I do. It's helped me focus on actually seeing how much joy I can bring to future generations, as opposed to just trying to look out for me and my own selfish wants out of the world of art. Oh, in case you guys are wondering, I'm literally just drawing random. Like I saw that as the leg. I don't really know what else goes next where, so I'm just going to start plugging things in and hoping that the drawing makes sense. This is where the creativity comes in. You need to have fun with it first of all, and then try to see what comes up. Like the whole point isn't to make a fantastic piece of art. It's just to relax and just enjoy your day as much as you can. Like we all have shitty times. We all have incredibly tough times in our life where we don't really know what to do. And, you know, a lot of us don't really have that. A lot of people to teach us how to be adults, how to react in certain situations, or how to achieve certain goals. That, you know, maybe if you're like a first generation whatever from your family, first generation artist, first generation lawyer, like all that path is on you. Like you have to learn how to do things on your own. And it's not always easy to do that. Um, it's just, sometimes it just seems like everybody else has everything already together when you don't. And sometimes that is a really defeating uh, outlook because, like everybody wants to, like everybody would like to say that they have their shit together. Yeah. Everybody would be like super stoked to be able to say, like, yeah, like, you know, my life is not hard. I don't have any problems. I don't have to worry about anything. And that's just not the case with life. Life will run you over like a truck and then expect you to get up and continue on over and over again. And when those moments happen, knowing that you have the ability to at least forget about all that stuff for a little bit and enjoy just creating something out of nothing. Um, Sometimes that helps a lot. And I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I don't know any better than any other person. But, sometimes learning from experience and other people that have gone through that tend to help a lot. Let's see. How are we going to make them derpy? Going to make them derpy by giving them super crazy eyes. One eye's going to be floating. How about that? We got to give him this little girdle thingy. Now we can make it into a pompadour girdle. So, when tough times come to you, you have the chance to think about it in two different ways. You can just shut down and, hope that someone else takes care of the situation for you. Or you can just learn to accept that, you know, things happen in life. Things don't work out sometimes. And sometimes, that's just how life is. Maybe you lose someone. Or maybe someone really close to you has died. All these situations can really deter you and like make you feel like there's no purpose. And I'm not going to say it's easy at all, because it's not. And different things trigger us different. So something that seems very important to, let's say, me, might not be the case for somebody else. Or something that seems insignificant to me might be something incredibly important to somebody else. And not understanding those, or paying attention to those things, can lead to bad situations. But acceptance is what drives you forward. Understanding that life is not perfect will drive you forward. Understanding that you can have a bad day, but still go to bed at night smiling, understanding that, maybe you did something really good during that day, something to be proudful about. Maybe that can help you carry you through. It's very hard sometimes. And we just need to accept it sometimes. Because it's when we start denying, and trying to find a reason around it. That's when you just end up in a bad situation. Because then you hope that your life is different. And hoping that your life is different will never lead to you being happy. You need to accept where you are and then pursue something that's going to make your life better. A positive outlook on life is going to carry you through a lot more than a lot of money or a lot of fame. And a lot of people forget that. So if you're having a bad time, understand it's something that just happens. So you just have to deal with the reality of the situation, whatever it might be at hand, and then just try to move on from there in the best way that you can so that you can be happy without, harming other people on the way. And there you go, cow with chicken. A very derpy chicken lunging forward. Hi. Derp, 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 derp. Let's see. All right. Let's see if anybody else has anything to ask. Amazing. From Santi Papa. Thank you. Matt Fontaine. Hello, love your work. How much time do you allow yourself to relax away from drawing to avoid burnout? Okay, so how to explain this? Look, for me, at least for me, I value the amount of drawing that I get to draw because I've had so many jobs that did not allow me the time to draw. It's not that I draw more than everyone or most people because I love drawing more than you guys. It's more so because I need it. I don't know if I've never really looked into more the psychological aspect of things. But if you had to determine something, it's kind of almost borderline an addiction. It's just something that I have to do every day. And it's not negative. It's never, absolutely, I never, anytime that I put a pencil to the page, do I find it to be a negative experience. Except when I'm being forced to do something that I do not want to create. And that happened a lot when it came down to doing freelance work. Back in the good old young Rod days where I used to work 18 hours a day doing freelance work for other people, and I never had a chance to create anything for myself. That was absolutely horrifying. And very quickly do you come to realize that when you spend 100 hours on someone's logo and you don't have the time to spend an hour on your own, there's a huge discrepancy there that should not be happening. Your skills should benefit you. Your skills should be used to create amazing pieces of artwork for you. You can help other people create their dreams and worlds and everything just as easy. And sometimes it's even easier to do things for others than it is to do things for ourselves. And I'm more than like a culprit on this. Like I focus much more on other people's work than I do mine. Up until the last couple of years, that was the case every single week. Like I'd spend countless hours on other people's work and very little on mine, like just squeezing mine in as much as I could. When I stopped caring about doing that for others, that's when my career took off. That's when people started actually acknowledging my work. That's when people started actually seeing what I was doing, and they found some joy in the things that I would create. Instead of just seeing a cool piece of artwork, they saw the person behind the artwork, and a little bit more of me comes through with the stuff that I like, as opposed to when you're just doing a really cool design just to get a cool design out. So I found out that just drawing random sketches and posting it and sharing a little bit of my life with everybody was a million times more rewarding for somebody out there on the internet that might be alone and might be looking for a friend or somebody that's going through the same shit they are. And enjoy a little bit of a drawing that, hey, maybe it's not perfect, but it looks fun. It looks interesting. It looks like, like the person tried to put some emotion in it. Whatever the like it is that you guys get out of my work, hey, I'm really happy that it makes a lot of you happy. And that's what keeps me, drawing with you every Monday. That's what has been keeping me posting online for 3 years, or no more than 3 years, like 4 or 5 years now. And that's the reason that I do all these videos and streams and stuff. Like, I don't really get much benefit out of them, except like there's not financial benefit. We don't like as a YouTuber with the followers that I have, you don't really make that much money out of that. I wish that it was different, but that's not the case. But it's fine. Doesn't matter. I do it for the love of doing it and sharing my love for my artwork and maybe inspiring some other people. It's never been about money. Let's see. What can we draw here? All right, let's just draw like some random thing, and I want it to have ears. I'm gonna have a little bunny. Yeah, money. Oh man, money is just God. It's so necessary, but it is such an inhibitor for creativity. Like, I wish that creative people got paid as much as people that, like create things that, I wish a lawyer and an artist were considered just as important. And therefore, art was compensated the same way. You know how much more amazing things we would have in this planet? Jesus, man. Like, art drives innovation. And it's the first thing to go in every single person that grows up because it gets beaten out of you that you cannot do this amazing, fun thing for a living. Like, every single time I hear that, or that I have heard, that my career is a joke, that I won't make it, that maybe I should change, what I'm doing to something else. All those things are very, very, very sad and have never been you can't even think like that. You can't even consider that if you want to be successful in this. Like, you cannot even imagine yourself failing. You have to keep on going, even if it's been years, even if it's been decades. You have to keep going, and not because it's something that you gotta force. It's just you keep going because a lot of it is just what keeps you sane. A lot of the stuff that we draw and like we create is that's the stuff that keeps us grounded. That's the stuff that keeps us from just hating our lives. Sometimes that is what saves us. And I know a lot of you feel like that. So don't be discouraged that things aren't working out. Literally, your art might be helping you a lot more than you think, even if you can't see it immediately. Let's see. Sensei, it's so good to see you online. I missed you. Hey, Corey. Miss you too, man. Matt Fontaine, thanks for answering my question. Very inspiring. M, hey, RODGON. I appreciate you. Well, I appreciate every single one of you guys too. Let's see. Let's draw a panda. I love drawing pandas. Pandas are the quintessential best bear out there. Except for red pandas. But I don't know if red pandas are bears. I think they're more like raccoons. Correct me if I'm wrong. And honestly, like if you guys have any more questions, like I honestly don't have anywhere to go tonight. So I might be drawing for a while. And it's really, really nice to have your guys' company. So feel free to ask absolutely whatever you guys want. I'll make my best effort to answer everybody. I'm going to draw some legs, some feet. Pandas have this really fun, like, child grabbing their toes pose that I love drawing. So for some of you that don't know a little bit about my past, I used to work at the San Diego Zoo. And I used to draw animals all day doing caricatures for people. And pandas were always some of the most cute and adorable things that I like to draw. And I also just to draw them like super different than normal pandas. Like it's never like a panda. It's like a combination of a panda and a grizzly. Let's see. Michelle Harrison. Hi, glad to be here. Do you play any instruments? I do not. I grew up playing the recorder and that was like the little flute thingy. And that's about it. I tried playing the piano. My mom tried to teach me how to play the piano. Failed horribly. I think I can play La Cucaracha on the piano, and that's about it. I'm not very musically inclined. And just to give you an example, one buddy of mine had to tell me that I always thought that Eminem was like the Candies. I was not a very knowledgeable person about music even into my college years. I used to stick to the things that I liked, and what I liked was The Offspring, Blink 182, and Queen. And to this day, that's still my favorite music, and I don't really stray away from that. The music I grew up with, the music that, you know, gives me the feels that I want from music. And honestly, I feel like an old grandpa when I say this, but I can't stand a lot of the new music. It's just, it's a little too ratchet for me. And understanding the word ratchet already makes me feel kind of like, ugh. It's just not something that I enjoy. Let's see. We got a little panda. Whenever I draw anything that has a white edge on a white piece of paper, I try to enhance it by adding a little bit of color to the white area. It just makes the white pop that much more, and it makes for really cool effects. Let's see. Ooh, nobody wants to talk tonight. It seems like I might be very interesting just talking on my own. Let's see. What else should we draw here? Let's see. What could this be? Let's make it into a T-Rex. Let me scoot it. Make it into like a dinosaur type of thing. So, a really fun job that I had once was working for a company that designed t-shirts. And the company was called Four Seasons Designs. Now, if you're a person that likes to draw, likes to really draw and just draw and create things with Photoshop and Illustrator, just random designs, not like sequential, not not like comic book or storytelling. If you just like creating cool drawings, working for a company, a designer company, is one of the best things you can do, because the job essentially consisted of just drawing themed t-shirts for a variety of stores. And a lot of the times it would be stores like Walmart or Target or something like that. So we'd have really cool assignments like, okay, this week we got to draw 80 t-shirts or 40 t-shirt designs that have puppies in them. So you go ahead and you draw as many puppies as you can. Let's see. That's looking, it looks all right. Then you would have to like switch gears completely and then draw like 20 illustrations with like old school trucks, or like 20 with American Eagles, like hunting ones, NASCAR, and then switch back to like little kid stuff like angels and mermaids and stuff. It was fantastic. It was just like an amazing, like it challenged you creatively, and then you learn about production as well, like learning how to set up artwork for print and how to like set like screen tones and separations and a ton of things that normally most artists don't really understand or even get into, because it's the technical side of things. So once you open up that branch of the industry to yourself, then you have a ton of opportunities that everybody else doesn't. Then you can become a book editor. You can become, like your own merchandise store. You can, create clothing on your own. It's just, it shows you how much of the power that companies have come from people like us. Without people like, for example, me, that was busting out 40 t-shirt designs every week, and they were profiting massively from that, it makes you see how much of that you could actually do for yourself. And Jesus, it just drives me nuts to like see like so many companies profiting so much from the art, and then artists not getting any of that. It drives me insane. Like honestly, it just drives me nuts. Okay, let's go back to this one. let's just draw a head or something. You guys really like it when I show you guys how to draw heads really quickly. So I've been drawing heads and profiles and stuff like that for a very long time. It's just something that I practice as much as I can. So when I'm drawing, I see little tiny nuances that a lot of, people might not have. And let's just walk through the process of me drawing one. And I think after that, I might just go get some food or something and call it a night. Honestly, it's been fantastic having you guys here, though. Michelle Harrison, you're my favorite artist. Yay! Manu Monterio, no me abrumo de todo lo que quería preguntar. Al final me quedó blanco. uh, I'm not exactly sure what that means. I don't know what abrumo is. Something blank. Matt Fontaine, could you draw a shark maybe? A shark? Yeah, I can draw a shark. Okay, another thing that I did before, I used to work at SeaWorld. And at SeaWorld, instead of drawing pandas as a caricature artist, you drew sharks and dolphins and stuff. So you learn to draw a lot of cool animals sometimes in a very fun, quick, stylized way. That would be kind of the little shark that I would draw, and then I would draw the people on top, like, yay, like riding them. Let's see. It's a shark. Let's see what else. Could you draw? Have you ever done challenges like 100 head or 100 hands or Inktober? Corey, I do plan on eventually at some point making a video where I just draw 100 heads. Like I just focus on drawing 100 heads, period, and then just put like music or just zone out or have you all ask me questions and stuff like that while I do it. But that is definitely something really fun that I would really like to do. My favorite stuff to draw, I think we talked about it a little earlier. It's derpy animals. Zombie Dragon, do you have like a go-to thing to draw when you want to draw, but are just not feeling up for it? Or how do you deal with that feeling if you experience it? I think we talked a little bit about earlier today. Sorry, this is like a super long video, so if you don't really want to go back and like listen to it, essentially it comes down to art block just is a lack of a mental library. If you have a mental library that's limited by what you can draw, let's say your foundational skills have not fulfilled completely, right? You have, what did we mention? Anatomy, perspective, and color. Let's say you're really good at coloring, but you're not very good at your anatomy and perspective, so what you can create with that is very limited. The more that you increase the other skill sets you have, the more possibilities you end up being able to draw. And mental block and art block and stuff like that tends to be more so like a limit, like a limiter that you've reached. And if you learn something new, that you might break through that. If you feel inspired or something clicks, you can break through that really easy, as long as you have that mentality of wanting to actually proceed. If you feel like staying in the same spot, no matter how much you learn, you're not really going to pursue that next level. And I know it's a lot of artists tend to get very sugar-coated like feels from everyone around them, because a non-creative person will see something that a creative person can do and praise them to earth and hell and heaven and back. And they'll mean it. They'll, like, when they say you're amazing, you're amazing. Like, you really I think a lot of us really underestimate what we do when we draw. Like, this little chicken thing did not exist. Like, I can come up with a story for this guy now. And that could lead to creating a story that leads to people liking it, to people, creating their own things with them. You can create something out of nothing and give it life in someone's mind. Someone can see this guy running. I bet you that if I asked some of you watching to come up with a really fun story for him and just draw him and tag me, you guys would create amazing things with him. Now, without me being able to do that, that never happens. Mickey Mouse never happens. Warner Brothers doesn't happen. Flintstones don't happen. Rick and Morty doesn't happen. Do not underestimate your ability to create something and inspire others. So, but at the same time, you can't allow that praise to make you think that you can't get better, or that you can't learn from someone. Or even worse, the worst one of all, where we think that you can't learn something from somebody that doesn't know as much as you. That is completely false. Someone that does not know as much as you can teach you valuable, incredible lessons if you allow them to show you how they think and how they feel. They can even teach you by you teaching them. And I do that every week with all of you. Every time that I draw something and I'm trying to explain it, I learn it more in depth, and it makes me feel incredibly happy and fulfilled, because I know that at the end of the day, I'm a better, more knowledgeable person from trying to impart that knowledge and understanding what I'm not really good at least not know how to explain something. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And that's all I gotta say about that. Do you like to go? Yeah. No? Let's see. We set a face, right? We're gonna draw a head. Like I said, feel free to ask more questions, guys. Otherwise, I'm just gonna rant on. So that's my problem. Go to, and then you hate it. Learn to embrace it. Nothing really to hate. You shouldn't hate drawing. Anything with art, you should not hate. Let's see. Let's draw a profile. So profile heads, right? A couple pointers that have helped me out a lot is do not assume that your initial sketch is going to be your final drawing. That is a no-no. Your sketch is just to lay out the idea in the foundation of your drawing. It's not to determine a final thing. So I like to start with kind of like a thicker oval, followed by drawing the front of the face, the bottom of the jaw, into where the ear is going to go. Now from here, I like to determine how I want the face to rotate. In this case, I want to give it a little bit of a under neck look. So I'm going to create the areas that are going to give that look to it. So I start determining a little bit of the underneath the neck, following the line to where the ear is going to go, just so I can see that dimension underneath the jaw, followed by the neck. Now, this is a really fun thing that I learned with the neck. You know that muscle that comes all the way from your sternum? The sternum is the middle of your neck, this little section. So if you connect these two bones right here, and you connect it to the base of the ear, you get the muscles that come in like that. So your ear is right here at the behind your jaw. So you have your jawline, bam, 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 and then you have your ear behind it, right? So we determined that. Now from behind here to that middle of the neck, it tends to be that muscle. You can start by just drawing kind of like a curvy line, or you can just draw it straight. Honestly, like when you start learning, that's perfectly fine and acceptable. Now, that's just the front part of that muscle, right? The back part of the muscle is the very interesting part, and this helped me out a lot. You go from that same area, from that middle of the sternum, it goes up like a tube, but then that is the muscle that connects to the base of the skull, right? So once the muscle gets to the skull, it curves back. And that's what's going to give you the thickness or the base of the skull. Uh, if you draw it from the side, very, very, very quickly, it would look like that. Now, after that, the other neck muscles are underneath that. So this neck muscle supersedes those, the ones in the back. So it's, if you think about it like that, it's a very, very, very easy way to connect the neck to the rest of the body. Now, after I determine that, I start determining where the other aspects of the face are supposed to be. I like to start a lot by drawing the forehead because it also, like the ear, it kind of gives me a lot of information about the face. It's going to determine where the temples are, into the side of the face. From here, I can start determining the angle of the jaw, of the cheekbones. And before I even go into any detail on the eyes or anything like that, I'm mapping out everything else so that I don't have to worry where anything's going to fit, where anything's going to fall. So my character's going to be curving his view a little bit up. So the cheekbone is going to be a little higher. The eye socket is going to be a little higher. And the eyeballs might show a little bit of the lid underneath. And not so much from that one. Not so much from the bottom one, but you'll see a little bit more of a thickness to the upper eyelid. Now from here, the forehead curves in. I know that my nose bridge is going to break a little bit above where the middle of the eye is. So my nose is going to start from there. And I can start determining if I want to stylize it or not. So if I want to stylize it, I can bring it up and then curve it in any way I want. But I still want to keep that like little angle. So I know that my mouth is going to have to curve in like that. And therefore the other things in the face also have to curve in like that. I'm thinking of perspective as I draw it. Now, the other thing that's going to bring a lot of depth into this pose is the nose. Determining the underside of the nose is always tricky, but if you just see it as a basic shape, it becomes a little bit easier. Into where the mouth is, the lip has thickness, and it's going to go to where the edge of the mouth is going to be. Since I'm watching from the bottom, you'd see a lot more of the upper lip than you would the lower lip. And then you just go in and refine and start adding detail according to what you want to achieve with your drawing. And at that point, that's when you start actually adding more detail once you map out where everything's supposed to fall. So if that makes sense, that's kind of how I draw profiles now, more so than before. I put a lot more attention into the perspective of things and how things are going to fall into place. And, you know, through repetition and just doing it over and over, I'm just going to get better at it. And eventually I'll be able to simplify things and stylize things in a way that, you know, that I want. Let's see. What's the next question? Vince, Bernie, George. You've been so relatable lately. Thank you for existing. Oh man, thank you. Do you find Rect Atomic? Do you find yourself doing any life drawing or going to life drawing nights? Helpful when it comes to stylization. Honestly, it's something that I've always liked doing. I like doing life drawing a lot. I just haven't been able to do it the last few years. It's just it's something that I wish I got back into again. I think now that I actually know a lot more, I think I'd be able to get more out of it. I just remember, you know, not really understanding what I was drawing before, and I was just trying to draw the shapes. And now that I know more anatomy, I can probably get a lot more out of it. Anton Monroe, I think that's working. I'm working on now that you bring up that you're trying not to give details so soon. It's like self sabotage. Yeah. Manu Monterino, what order of topics would you recommend for someone self taught? When you're self taught, man, like you have to really want it. Because when you're self taught, it's different than when you have a lot of people around you trying to learn the same thing as you and competing with you, and you know you all learn from each other and stuff. When you're self taught, you know, like here, let's see if I can make a little infographic of this. Self taught artist over here. Boom, boom, boom. Just keep it super simple. Self taught artist. As opposed to a person that goes to school for this. And we'll just put like a little graduating hat or whatever. I'm going to give you guys the pros and cons that I have found since I pretty much was both. I taught myself how to draw, but I went to school for 3D animation. So I learned a little bit about animation and drawing, but they never really focused on actually drawing. So when you do 3D and you sculpt from your own drawings and you don't know how to draw, what's going to happen? Right? You're not going to be able to draw very well. You're not going to be able to sculpt very well. So what happened with me was that I went 4 years to school. And even though I learned a lot about production, video editing, and Photoshop and all that stuff, I paid $60-something thousand plus books, plus living expenses, plus everything to eventually not end up doing what I went to school for. And that was incredibly taxing on me. When I went in and I started doing my self-taughtness, I learned a couple things. One, when you go to school for art, you don't get taught, do not get taught how to survive without a company. Very few schools teach you how to survive with your art without getting hired by a company. That alone is the biggest drawback of going to school, because you got to learn that on your own most of the time. You're paying to learn how to be an artist and how to refine your skill through criticism and teachings and stuff like that. But a lot of the times, a lot of people don't get a job in it and end up dropping out because they don't know how to make money with their art, even while they're going to school. So if you just focus on learning how to get a job, but you never understand how to make money with your art, you're going to be in a very, very tough situation where you're only going to survive if you have the generosity of a company. When you're self-taught, that doesn't get drilled into you. That doesn't get drilled into you at all. You have to understand that it's your skill set that's going to have to drive you to success. And be it the most simple skill set, like drawing a stick figure, drawing a basic portrait. If you can take that and actually start generating income with that, you're already in a better off spot than the other person. Because you can learn everything a person learns in school. You can learn composition, you can learn Photoshop, you can learn how to draw and animate without having to spend thousands of dollars on it. So that is my biggest example of that. That's how I see it. And I went to school and I spent a lot of money doing it. But you can only do this, you can only be the self-taught person and be successful if you have the drive to do so. If it really is a passion in you, because you need that. Because here in school, you're going to have friends, teachers, colleagues, networks, many networks, possibilities galore, if you allow them to be, something that you want to have. If you're not shy and you take advantage of everything around you when you're going to school, you're in a fantastic spot, in much easier position to be able to succeed as a person that is self-taught, because you're paying for those opportunities. If you're going to school and you're just slacking off playing video games and doing nothing, not working your ass off while you're paying $100,000 to go to school, you're fucking up. I'm sorry for the language, but you're messing up. Like, when you're in school, you should be focused on your one goal, and that is to be able to create art for a living. That whole aspect, it's never existent when you're self-taught. When you're self-taught, you don't have that party mentality about art. You see yourself as your own self-generating, like all the people that teach you, all the people around you that help you and support you and challenge you and, fight with you and argue with you and learn from you and you learn from them. You don't have that here. So, hold on. All right, everybody. I'm just going to call it a night, but I hope you guys had an entertaining time. So have a wonderful night. Love you all. See you guys next week.